While the Republican field takes shape, President Obama is looking to add to his war chest. He's got two fundraisers in New York this week, but many of his donors have been holding back their checkbooks due to concerns about the economy and whether he's pro-business. Joining us now is the CEO of Burson-Marsteller, Mark Penn, former chief strategist for Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, also former senior advisor to President Bill Clinton during the 1996 reelection campaign. Welcome back to In Business, Mark. Are we going to see a softer tone towards Wall Street as campaign season gets underway?
Well, you actually don't know. The president could go either way. He could decide that going against Wall Street plays better with Main Street, and he could get tough on Wall Street, or he could be trolling for more Wall Street support. I think that's a decision you'll see go back and forth, or Seesaw here, several times during the campaign season. I think that's what we've seen before.
Well, you point out that the president has more support from those making over $200,000 a year than any Democrat in history. As we get into this tax debate, as we go into some concerns about regulation, who's going to be the prime beneficiary if Obama loses some of those supporters? Who do they go to?
Well, traditionally, the over 100,000 and over 200,000 voter has gone heavily Republican. The truth is that President Obama won half of them. He actually won 52% of the over 200,000 vote. The over 100,000 vote was actually 1 in 4 voters. So this is a significant part of his winning coalition. And so the question is whether or not he's going to fracture that coalition, as I think happened in the midterms, or put that coalition back together again. That coalition is much more, I think, concerned about the economy, much more open-minded socially, much better educated, but they do have basic economic concerns that they want to see met.
But who is the biggest threat to winning over those people in question there? Is it Romney with his business background? Is it John Huntsman, who we're expecting to make his candidacy official tomorrow?
Well, I think Huntsman and Romney are likely to have the strongest overall appeals to independent voters. And those kinds of independent voters, I think, in the upper income, better educated strata, more likely than, say, a very conservative candidate. The vice presidential nominee Palin was a big turnoff to those voters last time. And if the Republicans have a repeat of that kind of nominee, I think, again, the over 100,000 or even over 200,000 will be voters that will want to stay with Obama.
Is there room for Rick Perry in this race?
The way the field is shaping up on the Republican side, I think there's plenty of room for anybody. I think the Republicans don't have this set. I think the establishment
Why did you laugh
is out
at
there
that?
saying, well, because the truth is, Bill Clinton got in late. I think even John F. Kennedy got in late. There's a history of people getting in late into the primaries and actually doing better because they don't have to endure the wear and tear that, say, Romney has to endure now as the front runner who's out there for a long time.
It sounds like that would be something you'd be advising.
It's not always best to jump in first unless you have a reason in which you have to, in which obviously you've been planning that for a long time. Obviously Hillary and Obama started early. President Clinton started later. In this case, with the kind of field they have, we could well see some late entrants here up through October.
But for the president himself, do you think it's taking him off message when it comes to the economy? If you assume that's the Achilles heel here, is it taking him off message to be talking about deficit and that overhang of spending versus focusing on jobs right now?
Well, the president, number one, is going to focus on jobs. He's got to focus on gas prices, and he's got to focus on the deficit. I don't think there's a substitute for focusing on these three things. He really needs to have an overall strategy for dealing with the economy, and it can't be really discussed or thought of as piece by piece here. I mean, he's got to come through with a significant domestic agenda on the economy that people believe in. It's the most important thing for his reelection.
What does that look like for you? What would you be advising him? What is that?
Well,
infrastructure spending?
At this point, number one, he's got to create, I think, jobs through exports. He's got to really refine, I think, very much the trade policy that the country has. I think he's got to have a budget deal. I think if there isn't a budget deal on the debt ceiling, things could unwind quite quickly for him. And I think he's got to continue to, put money and programs into the leading edges of innovation. He's got to have a consistent program on all three in order to be credible. And he's got to, I think, show a budget deal here.
All right, Mark, thank you very much for giving us your insight. We've got to leave it there.